Your family, your health, our passion. This is Family Practice with Dr. Jeffrey Fox, sponsored by Family Practice Associates of Lexington, PSC. Visit us at fpalex.com and like us on Facebook.
Welcome back. My next guest is Dr. Lee Dossett, who is the Chief Medical Officer at Baptist Health Lexington. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Now, I mentioned hurricane and the health effects. We'll talk a little bit about the health effects, but it's had a really specific effect and problem with intravenous fluids. So tell us, number one, what intravenous fluids are, what they're used for, and why it's a problem.
Yeah, so intravenous fluids, IV stands for, intravenous. They're used for a lot of different things. So if you come to the emergency room and you're dehydrated, they may give you some fluids in the IV. If you are getting an antibiotic in the IV, they'll combine it with the fluids and for it to go in to your body. In the operating room, they'll use it to wash out infections, to wash out blood, clear the field so they can see. So it's a lot of different uses in the hospital that you may not think of.
And you really don't think of it until it's not there.
That's right.
And so the hurricane did have an effect. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so there's a plant in western North Carolina that was knocked out by Hurricane Helene last month. This plant made 60% of the United States IV fluids inventory. They made, I think, 1.5 million bags of IV fluids a day, and is completely knocked out. So we've had that effect of not being able to get the normal inventory of fluids that we need and used every day.
So that has a domino effect. So what happens?
Yeah. So the main thing here is that the hospital has to conserve the IV fluids. So we've asked all our physicians to just whenever possible and when clinically appropriate, when it's safe to do so, to try to minimize or reduce the use of those IV fluids. We've not asked them to not use them whenever it's appropriate. My feeling is that a patient coming into the hospital shouldn't even know that there's anything different, because we aren't rationing care. We're taking care of the patient as they need to be taken care of.
But it has a little effect on the surgery, elective surgery schedule.
So we have had to make the decision to put a pause on scheduling some elective procedures. And when I say elective, what I mean is that it's not, the physician doesn't feel it's urgent or emergent or life-threatening. If it can be delayed by a month or so without any harm to the patient, that's what we consider elective. And so we've paused that for a few weeks to get a better idea of what our inventory of these fluids are going to be and what the situation going forward is going to be as far as production is.
And I know you probably can't answer this, but when you said a few weeks, do you think that realistically?
I think that's probably what we're looking at. You know, this company, Baxter, is doing everything they can to get this company, to get the production plant back online. The other companies that do make the fluids are trying to ramp up production. They're working on options to import fluids from around the world. So every stakeholder is maximizing the efforts to get this back online.
Well, let's talk about, obviously that's a health effect and it's going to be around a while, but there's also other health effects the hurricane has.
Yeah, so the health effect of the hurricane does not end when the hurricane is over. You know, there's the obvious effects of just the trauma of being in a hurricane itself, but afterwards, if your power is out and you don't have electricity with air conditioning or heating, that can put a lot of stress on the body, especially if you're elderly. If you don't have power to refrigerate some medications such as insulin, that can expire. So you have to be really cognizant of those effects. And then, even things like food safety, eating food that's sat out too long or in the refrigerator without power, that sort of thing. And then there's things
kind of like when we talked about Thanksgiving, if you don't pay attention.
And things like down power lines and loose tree limbs, that sort of thing.
Right. Now, natural disasters occur everywhere. Hurricanes, and we don't have you would think. You wouldn't think in central Kentucky. But if we have a natural disaster, the hospital's prepared, or at least has thought about what occurs down the line.
Yeah, we have an emergency management plan for that we would activate in an emergency situation, and whether that's a natural disaster such as flooding, hurricane, earthquake, or a a mass casualty event from an event in town, we have a structure that we can stand up and that's very nimble as far as the response. We coordinate with other hospitals in town. We coordinate with the city, the state, whoever needs to be in communication with. We're very good about standing that up.
So we've got the hospitals and the community ready to go, but each individual ought to have some kind of emergency preparedness plan.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone should have a emergency preparedness kit. What probably includes some batteries, both for double and AAA batteries, but also a cell phone battery, flashlights, some non-perishable foods. Those sorts of things that you can. That's easily accessible that you can take with you in an emergency.
How about medicines? At least a few days until the pharmacies can get back online.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're able to have a few days on hand, I would recommend that, because some medications you definitely don't want to be without even for a few days.
Just like IV fluids, you
right.
never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, we thank you for all you do. We thank you for the hospital in terms of its preparedness. Hopefully, our IV fluid process gets better for you.
Yeah, hope so. Thank you.
We'll be right back.